The text came through at 5:47 p.m., just as I was pulling my old Buick out of the driveway. "Grandpa, so sorry, dinner's cancelled tonight. Sarah's got the flu, rain check, love you." I stared at my phone, reading Emma's message twice. My granddaughter was usually so reliable about these Sunday dinners, had been ever since her mother, my daughter Clea, passed 3 years ago. I'd already showered, put on my good cardigan, and wrapped up the apple pie I'd spent all afternoon making. The one with the lattice crust that Emma loved, just like her grandmother used to make. "Well, hell," I muttered, turning the key back in the ignition. The engine died with a sputter. I sat there for a moment, looking at the pie on my passenger seat. My stomach growled. I'd skipped lunch in anticipation of Emma's pot roast. At 76 years old, I'd learned that disappointment was just part of life's menu, but that didn't make it taste any better. Then I remembered I'd left my blood pressure medication at Emma's house last Sunday. Dr. Patel had been very clear about taking it twice daily. "Frank," I said to myself, using the same tone my late wife Margaret would have used on me, "you need that medicine." I turned the key again. The Buick coughed back to life. Emma's house was only 12 minutes away, in the newer subdivision off Maple Street. I'd make it quick, grab the pills from her medicine cabinet, where she kept them for me, maybe leave the pie as a surprise for when little Sarah felt better. I wouldn't bother them, in and out. The sun was setting as I pulled onto Sitcheson Drive, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that reminded me of the sunsets Margaret and I used to watch from our porch. Emma's house was the blue colonial at the end of the cul-de-sac, the one with the tire swing-eyed, hung from the oak tree when they first moved in. I noticed the cars immediately. 3 of them lined the driveway and curb: Mark's Tesla, Emma's sister Jennifer's white SUV, and that silver Honda I didn't recognize but looked expensive. My foot eased off the gas pedal. The living room windows glowed warm and golden. Through the sheer curtains I could see movement, shapes, people. A lot of people. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Maybe they were taking care of Emma and Sarah. Maybe it was some kind of emergency. But even as I thought it, I knew better. You don't have multiple cars over during a flu emergency. You certainly don't have what looked like a dinner party. I should have driven away. That's what Margaret would have told me to do. "Frank, don't go looking for trouble. It'll find you on its own just fine." But I'd already pulled into the driveway and my hand was already reaching for the pie. I had a key. Emma had insisted I take one 2 years ago, after I'd waited in the rain for 20 minutes when she was running late. "Grandpa, just let yourself in. This is your home too." The key felt heavy in my palm as I stood on the porch. I could hear them now. Laughter, the clink of glasses, music playing softly. Was that Sinatra, Margaret's favorite? I unlocked the door as quietly as I could and stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Pot roast, garlic, fresh bread, all the Sunday dinner smells I'd been anticipating all week. My stomach twisted, but not from hunger anymore. "Really think he believed it?" That was Jennifer's voice, floating from the dining room. "Oh, Dad falls for everything." Mark's voice, my son-in-law. I told Emma it was almost too easy. I stood frozen in the entryway, the pie still in my hands. Through the archway I could see them all gathered around the extended dining table. 8, no, 9 people. Emma at the head where I usually sat, Mark beside her, Jennifer and her husband Tom, 3 people I didn't recognize, younger, professionally dressed, and Sarah, my 7-year-old great-granddaughter, very much not sick, wearing a party dress and giggling at something on her iPad. The table was covered with food. My usual spot had been replaced by a stack of what looked like business documents and a laptop. "I mean, I feel a little bad," Emma said, refilling someone's wine glass. "But this meeting was important, and you know how Grandpa is. He'd want to help, ask a million questions, tell stories about the old days. Last time he was here during my conference call," Mark added, "he kept asking why everyone was staring at their phones. Didn't understand it was a Zoom meeting." The laughter that followed felt like a slap. "He means well," Jennifer said, but her tone suggested this was a concession, not a compliment. "He's just from a different time, not really equipped for modern business discussions. Exactly, Emma agreed. This acquisition is too important. We need to focus. We can have Grandpa over next week when things calm down. I don't remember deciding to move. One moment I was standing there like a statue. The next I was walking into the dining room, the pie held in front of me like a shield. Hello, everyone. The silence was immediate and absolute. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Wine glasses stopped mid-pour. Emma's face went from flushed and happy to white as paper. Grandpa, she started, half standing. I came for my blood pressure medication, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor I felt in my hands. The pills I left here, Dr. Patel says they're important. Life or death, actually, but I suppose that's just old-fashioned thinking. Dad, we can explain, Mark began. No need. I set the pie down on the nearest surface, a side table cluttered with coffee mugs and papers. I understand completely. Business is important, modern business especially. Can't have the old man getting in the way with his questions and his stories about the old days. It's not like that, Emma said, and I could see tears forming in her eyes. Good, she should cry. But then I looked at Sarah, who had put down her iPad and was staring at me with wide, confused eyes. Grandpa, Mommy said you weren't coming. I know, sweetheart, and your mommy was right. I found my medication in the bathroom off the hallway, right where I'd left it. When I came back out, Emma was waiting for me, her face blotchy and red. Grandpa, please, let me explain. Emma, I stopped looking at her, really looking. When had she grown up? When had she become someone who lied to her grandfather, who was embarrassed by his questions and his stories? Your grandmother and I had Sunday dinners every week for 43 years, through good times and bad, through her cancer treatments when she could barely eat, through my heart attack when I was on pureed food. We never cancelled, not once. This isn't about Sunday dinner. No, I agreed. It's about respect. It's about family. It's about whether I'm part of yours anymore or just an obligation you schedule around. You're being unfair. Maybe I pocketed my medication, but I'm also being honest, something you might try. I walked toward the door. Past the dining room, where everyone sat in awkward silence, past the food I'd been looking forward to all week. Grandpa, wait, Sarah's small voice stopped me. She ran up, wrapping her arms around my legs. Don't go, you can have my seat, I don't mind. I knelt down, my knees protesting, and hugged her tight. Thank you, sweetheart, but I think the grown-ups need to finish their meeting. I'll see you soon, okay? Promise. I looked up at Emma, who was crying openly now. I promise. The drive home felt longer than 12 minutes. The Buick seemed to know where it was going without my help, which was good because my eyes were too blurred to see the road clearly. When I got home, I sat in my car for a long time, looking at my empty house. The porch light was on. I always left it on, a habit from when Margaret would wait up for me, but there was no one waiting now. My phone buzzed. Emma. Grandpa, I'm so sorry. Please come back. We'll cancel everything. I'm so sorry. Then Jennifer, Dad, Emma's a mess. This is a misunderstanding. Then Mark, Frank, let's talk this through like adults. I turned off my phone. Inside, I made myself a sandwich, turkey and Swiss, Margaret's favorite, and ate it at the kitchen table. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway, the one that had belonged to my father and his father before him. A relic from the old days, Margaret used to joke, but she'd never wanted to get rid of it. Some old things, she'd said, were worth keeping. I thought about Emma's words, not equipped for modern business discussions. Maybe she was right. I didn't understand half of what these kids did for work nowadays. Apps and acquisitions, and digital this, and cloud-based that. But I understood family. I understood showing up. I understood that when you tell someone you'll be there, you're there, not because it's convenient, but because it matters. My phone was still buzzing when I finally turned it back on an hour later. 17 messages, 4 voicemails. I deleted them all except one, from Sarah, a voice message that Emma must have helped her record. Grandpa, I saved you some pot roast. Mommy says you can come get it anytime. I miss you. I closed my eyes and let out a long breath. Tomorrow I'd call Emma, we'd talk. Maybe we'd fix this, maybe we wouldn't. But tonight, I sat with my hurt and my anger and my disappointment, and I let myself feel all of it. Because that's what you do when you're 76 and from the old days. You feel things deeply, you love people fiercely, and when they let you down, you don't pretend it doesn't matter. You just decide what comes next.